Instead of fighting organized crime, the Mexican government spent your tax money investigating people on Twitter. All of this had a single goal: trying to discredit the Generation Z March.
Based on various analyses, it is estimated that the spending on this digital strategy amounts to more than 90 million pesos.
The government of Mexico claims that this is a campaign orchestrated by the international right, which seeks to remove Morena from power, and that this campaign has cost 90 million pesos so far. Their evidence? None! But they did something that I find extremely serious. Using state money, money from Mexican taxpayers, to investigate citizens, even exposing them publicly and defaming them on public television.
Some of the figures from the Partido Acción Nacional party who have promoted this march, which is said to be non-partisan.
We're going to look at this in more detail in a moment, but you'll see that they gave names. They publicly singled out people one by one. Their actions were extremely serious. They dedicated half an hour of the morning press conference, which is the program that the government of Mexico has every morning, where President Claudia Sheinbaum appears to point out citizens and publicly defame them. Incredible. And as if that wasn't enough, they also claim bots paid for this campaign.
8 million bots. What do they mean by bots? Bot. It's money from fake accounts that push a conversation to see if they can promote a more organic conversation or one from real people. 8 million, just imagine 90 million pesos. Between October and what's past of November to promote a campaign on social media.
8 million bots and a campaign worth 90 million pesos. The source? None. They're making it up. According to them, they have a research team. But I'm telling you right now, they're making it up. You'll see how they make up a lot of things. How they give half-truths. It's just shameful what they've done. By the way, let's see how they started naming and attacking people both on Twitter and TikTok.
Arturo Villegas, a National Action Party influencer, and Enrique Quique Mireles, a Partido Acción Nacional spokesperson and TikToker. Emilio Vallejo, influencer from the Partido Acción Nacional, Miguel de Samaniego, spokesperson for the Partido Acción Nacional and employee of TABE, businessman. Ricardo Salinas Pliego, Arturo Villegas, a right-wing influencer who supports Salinas Pliego. Arturo Herrera, supporter of Ricardo Salinas Pliego and collaborator with the right-wing Diario Mexico. This last outlet promotes misinformation and also organizes this march. The grandfather, the post we're seeing in the center, posted, "I wish businessman Ricardo Salinas Pliego would dare to lead the march." The businessman joked about that idea.
They always have to mention Ricardo Salinas Pliego. Incredible. It catches my attention how the priority for these people, their biggest enemy, isn't the drug dealers, it's not the cartels, it's not organized crime. No, it's Ricardo Salinas Pliego. In fact, look at how Claudia Sheinbaum refers to the inmates, to the prisoners. Look at the preferential treatment she gives them.
The inmates say,
People deprived of their freedom.
sorry for those deprived of freedom,
Yes,
so they can live better, right, inside the prisons.
yes, you had asked before, and we're going to see how the investigation is going.
People deprived of their freedom, using euphemisms to avoid calling inmates what they really are. And if that wasn't enough, trying to make sure they live better inside the prison? Seriously? What a shame, really, what a shame. So much harm criminals have done to Mexico, so much harm, so many families they've broken. And all for this just to say they deserve more dignified treatment in prison. Come on, it's just so shameful. But anyway, as long as Claudia Sheinbaum and the members of her political party keep acting the same way, little by little they'll keep earning. The population's rejection and disapproval are inevitable. Because in a country with so much impunity, in a country where so many people have been victims of organized crime, suddenly seeing how politicians come out and say, "No, poor criminals, they're people deprived of their freedom. We need to give them better treatment in prison." When people see that, it makes them angry, it makes them upset, and they're not aware of it. The government of Mexico is so complacent that they don't realize that what's happening is organic. There are so many people who are fed up with the current administration. It's that simple and straightforward. And there are many people in Mexico who hear that kind of thing, and it really turns them off because they've seen what criminals are capable of doing. It's no secret Mexico is one of the most dangerous countries in the world. And the fact that people are talking about how to treat criminals better in a country like Mexico is just insane.
The international right and its companies in December 2024, Ricardo Salinas Pliego invited Javier Negre, the director of Derecha Diario, to work in Mexico.
And yes, they talked about Derecha Diario, a media outlet that we've talked about several times on this channel, and I love it. How they do this investigation about Javier Negre, the owner of Derecha Diario, met with Ricardo Salinas Pliego, who invited him to work in Mexico. Look, this story is public. Javier Negre himself told it. For quite some time now, he aimed to launch Derecha Diario Mexico as part of the expansion of Argentina's media outlet Derecha Diario. The point is that he didn't dare, because as you know, practicing journalism in Mexico is very complicated. In fact, there are many journalists who sadly lose their lives because of it. And Javier Negre himself says that Ricardo Salinas Pliego convinced him to open Derecha Diario Mexico. That's what happened. However, to avoid confusion, yes, there is Derecha Diario Mexico, but there is also Derecha Diario República Dominicana, for example, or Derecha Diario Uruguay, or Derecha Diario Bolivia. Basically, there is a version of Derecha Diario for almost every country in Latin America. So it's not a media outlet created with the objective and purpose of destabilizing the government of Mexico and fighting against the fourth transformation.
Agustin Antonetti, Argentine activist and member of the Libertad Foundation in Rosario, Argentina. Linked to the Atlas Network organization, which in Mexico is led, as we already mentioned, by Roberto Salinas León, cousin of Ricardo Salinas Pliego. Atlas Network maintains a public alliance with the Ricardo Salinas Pliego Center. Agustin Antonetti amplified the hashtags narco-president and narco-candidate in 2024. He operates as a digital promoter in anti-left campaigns on social networks, amplifying messages from Cereimedo and Milei. He is a specialist in emotional and outrage narratives and freedom with a strong presence on X. He posts against the fourth transformation, and Derecha Diario has quoted his messages on some social networks.
Please, Agustin is not someone who talks exclusively about Mexico. In fact, that's not even his main topic, not even close. He's someone who talks about the left in general. He addressed that comment in the morning press conference, stating, "What happened today in the morning press conference is extremely serious. I'm not saying this for myself, I don't really care, but I am concerned for the young Mexicans who have been singled out and marked at the national level by the government of Mexico. Let's not be intimidated, everyone to the streets this Saturday," says Agustin.
Eduardo Menoni, Venezuelan journalist and activist, based in Miami, creator of anti-leftist content and critic of progressive governments, is part of the network of Hispanic influencers who spread anti-state rhetoric and, as he says, anti-communist messages. He has been active against the fourth transformation from Miami, and he has promoted Generation Z marches. His content has been shared on X by Ricardo Salinas Pliego.
Oh, they're just so ridiculous. Guys, Eduardo Menoni has been on this channel with us. He's been a guest here in the past, and I'm telling you, first, the guy doesn't even live in Miami. Has he ever been there? I don't know. But he lives in El Salvador. In fact, this was Eduardo Menoni just a few hours ago. Look, breaking news. The Brazilian congressman and patriot Nicolas is in El Salvador at the Parliamentary Congress on Intelligence and Security.
Well, and here I am with one of the congressmen, the most voted in Brazil, one of the most patriotic pro-Bolsonaro.
The point is that Eduardo Menoni lives in El Salvador, not in Miami. And another very important thing, they mentioned that Ricardo Salinas Pliego had shared a post by Eduardo Menoni. Yes, because Eduardo Menoni has one of the top 100 accounts with the most interactions on all of Twitter. Worldwide. So, and also, he's right-wing. It's normal that at some point Ricardo Salinas Pliego retweeted him since it's one of the most famous accounts. It's that simple and straightforward. But anyway, Ladies and gentlemen, I would really like to know what you think and what your opinions are about all of this. The government of Mexico dedicated its effort and time not to fighting organized crime, not to going after the people who did that to Carlos Manso. No, to going after people on Twitter! Simply shameful. See you next time.